The following podcast is brought to you by the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at WrestlingWithJohners.com. Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Wrestling with Johners. I think we're up to episode 286, so we're getting ever closer to that, to milestone 300 episodes. And of course, this is our 5th year, so we'll be reaching that anniversary very soon. But today, really excited to be talking to my next guest. Second live interview of the week. Of course, on Monday, I had a live conversation with Harrison Bennett, Man Like Beano. Go and check that one out. That was a fantastic conversation. Going to be talking to someone that knows Harrison very well. You probably, if you listen to the Harrison interview, remember the name very well. But today, I'm joined by the head coach of New Wave Academy in South Wales, one half of the Rev Pro Undisputed Tag Team Champions, and one half of the Riot Cabaret Tag Team Champions, and no less the All Wales Champion. He's one of the most respected pros in the business right now, the workhorse Bronco Brendan White. Brendan, thank you for coming on the show. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. Yeah, really, really good. Really, really good. And that was a hell of an introduction, by the way. So I appreciate that one.
I'm getting good at those introductions, believe me. Yeah. But like I say, the longer the better. But no, I'm happy to put you over, my friend, and really, really happy to have you on the show. But like I say, we are live across YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. So if you are watching, you want to get in touch, you want to send Brendan a question live on Wrestling with Johners, you can do. Just send them through to us using your chosen device. They'll ping through to us, and we'll do our very best to read them out during the course of this live interview. We've got one or two that have dropped through already, and some that were sent to us before we went live. But before we talk to Mr. Brendan White there, I do need to quickly cover off some of the guests that we've had on Wrestling with Johners in 2023 so far. And this is the last live interview of February, but already we've had 10 brilliant guests. And we started the year with Jetta, of course. What a fantastic individual, Wrestle Carnival Women's Champion, of course. And then the brilliance, James Ellis. The current New Wave Wrestling Champion was on the show in January as well. We had Truman Roswell followed up. Truman Roswell came on the show in January along with that damn dirty dog G Money. And to finish off January, we had Tom Dawkins, Cara Noir. 5 amazing interviews for the month of January there. We kicked off February with Bowlerama. And what a fantastic team they were. A full hour and 10 minutes with Bowlerama in full character. What a fantastic bunch of guys. Really, really great to talk to them about the South Wales wrestling scene and everything they're up to. And then, of course, we also had Bullet come on the show in February as well. Fantastic individual, doing great stuff in his own right up and down the UK. And of course, he's Spike Gervais' henchman in progress, doing some wonderful things. Last week, we had 2 amazing interviews. We had SoCal Val kicking off the week last Monday. Go and check that one out. SoCal Val, a fantastic, wonderfully entertaining individual that's been on the scene for many years and doing some amazing things over in the UK now. Last Thursday, we had the Liver Bird, Lizzie Evo. And that's one of my more well-received, more popular episodes I've had recently. I think we did like 1,200 views in just over 48 hours and doing very, very well. And this Monday, Harrison Bennett, of course. Go and check that one out. But today we're with this guy here, Brendan White, Bronco Brendan White, no less. And thank you for coming on the show. And the first question I've got, I'll tell you what, before I ask my first question, I'm going to bring up a picture and look at this here. Look at the gold or the belts. You've got the All Wales Championship there. You've got the Riot Cabaret Tag Gold, and you've got the Rev Pro Undisputed British Tag Championship there as well. That's a pretty cool picture. And like I say, holding all the gold at the moment, Brendan, you must be pretty pleased, pretty proud of your accomplishments over the last year or so.
2 minutes in, and my head's already like bigger than what it is. So
hey, I told you I'm going to put you over.
No, thank you. No, it is cool. It's just a testament to all the work I put in, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, 100%. And I think your next match is going to be tomorrow at the Tram Shed in Cardiff. I'm going to be there watching you perform along with your tag team partner, Danny Jones, the Greedy Souls. We'll talk about that match in a minute. But I think one of your most recent matches was again for Rev Pro in Southampton, where you actually faced your tag team partner, Now, is that correct? What's that? Did you face Danny Jones in your last match?
No, me and Danny Jones wrestled. No, I wrestled Dan in Southampton Rev Pro about 2 years ago. Yes,
Right.
and that was physical. That's Dan being Dan. If you've ever wrestled Dan, it's like trying. He just smothers you, and it's just anybody like the wrestlers know, how good Dan is, and I realized, well, I knew anyway, but being in the ring with Dan, he's just the best. He's one of those unique wrestlers he's a mixture like Zack Sabre and Walter in one, and whilst being himself at the same time. He's just great.
Yeah, 100%. And like I say, here the two of you are, like I say, with all the gold, because he's also the King of Chaos champion over in Pro Wrestling Chaos, looking pretty fine there. But you've been the Rev Pro Undisputed British Tag Team Champions now, I think, for about 123 days. I think it was October last year when you picked up the championships. And the two of you have been fantastic champions. What's it like to tag with Danny Jones? Because I think he's been in the business a little bit longer than yourself.
Yeah.
You got to know him pretty much as soon as you came into the business, 2016, and you became kind of good friends ever since. But what's it like to tag with a guy like him? What's it like to be his tag team partner, kind of in a tag match? And like I say, you got the next one tomorrow.
Yeah, no, to be honest with you, I knew Danny before we started. Did you? Yeah, we're generally from the same area as well, when I first started training and out of training, before I ever kind of stepped in a ring, I knew I was seeing him in training then and stuff like that. He's just like an actual real life friend, so it's much easier. So when you say it's like what's it like to tag with him, it's just what's it like to hang out with your mate, we generally are friends outside of the ring, and I think that's what makes our tag wrestling much easier, because we generally get on outside the ring too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one team that you've got history with, certainly in Rev Pro, and kind of in Progress and various other companies, and that's this team here, Sunshine Machine. And when the Greedy Souls and Sunshine Machine get in a ring together, kind of madness ensues. There's going to be a fight, there's going to be a battle, there's going to be some craziness as well, especially from TK and Chuck. But the two of you, Sunshine Machine and Greedy Souls, have amazing chemistry, and I think you've demonstrated that certainly over the last year or so. And I remember seeing Greedy Souls versus Sunshine Machine at the Tram Shed. I think it was maybe October when Progress were last there in a tables match, which was pretty wild. But like I say, you've got this kind of connection, you've got this chemistry with Sunshine Machine, TK and Mambo there, that whenever the two teams get in the ring, it's just amazing. And it just seems like, a pair of great dance partners, Brendan.
Yeah, we wrestled a lot last year, and see that mark on my nose? Can you still see it?
Just about, yeah.
Yeah, that's from Sunshine Machine, so I hate them both. Yeah, no, like there were times where we wrestled each other a lot, and it got to the point where we feeling burnt out. But when it came to the big matches like the Tram Shed and obviously the one at Uprising, the street fight, yeah, two of my favorite matches, big style. The Uprising match will be special for me, because York Hall for me is the venue in British wrestling, and to play our trade and play our craft on the biggest stage in British wrestling in a street fight, and that match is so unique as well. And it's just, and I came out that like bloodied, like genuinely bloodied out, because that mark on my nose is from I got cut open at the end of the match, and blood just came down my face, and seeing the sight of your own blood for the first time in a wrestling match, that was pretty scary. But it was one of those matches.
I've got that picture there. Look, there you go.
There you go. Yeah, that's
pretty beat up.
That's what they call opened up the hard way. That was, and my nose was pretty sore afterwards. But you can still see there's still a mark on my nose now. But it was one of those that match for me validated everything me and Dan were, because I always thought we were considered a really good team, but not in the top echelon of teams like the Sunshine Machine. I don't know, and I know the other tag teams out there. I feel like now we're on par now, because that match validated us, and I knew it before, because you got to believe you're good, but I think everyone else starts to realize it now. So yeah.
100%. Yeah, I think Greedy Soul certainly over the last year to a year and a half have really established themselves on the UK scene as up there, like I say, top level, top tier tag teams. And a few people that are watching this live, we got Jack Knudsen, one half of Act 2, and a team that you faced recently at New Wave, watching the show. Thank you, Jack. Please send us your questions through. We have had a load of questions come through already. I will filter through them very, very shortly. But one question we got before we went live, let's just bring it up. And it's from a good friend of the show. Let's just get rid of Jack's question there. Sorry, Jack. There we go. And it's from a good friend of the show, Richie, who came up with the name Greedy Souls. So I think yourself and Danny first formed, was it about 2019 as an actual official tag team, 2019 or thereabouts? But yeah, who came up with the tag team name Greedy Souls? What's it in reference to?
I think that was, to be honest with you, that was like kind of like either late 2018 or early 2019. But I was all down, to be honest. I feel like he's into his kind of it's from the Liam Gallagher song,
right?
Really so, and basically I think he's all down with that, and because the way Dan looks and how the aesthetic Dan is and stuff like that, kind of I was on board with it, and it's very different, and I feel like it does kind of it does personify us as wrestlers because we do want it all. Like that month of like August, September now, I had 65 matches in 1 month. I wrestled everywhere. That Cardiff weekend where you saw us, I did ICW at midnight. I did Progress. Then I did TNT. I want it all. I literally want it all. And I feel like me and Dan are the same mindset of like nobody works hard on us. We out there all the time. Whether it's coaching, wrestling, gym. No, we just want it all. And I feel like that's a perfect name for both of us, really, as a team, 100%. As a collective. Anyway, it's like-minded wrestlers doing like-minded things.
Yeah, and it does kind of stand you two apart as a team. It's kind of one of them names that really jumps off the page and kind of makes you think. And like I say, I think what you do in the ring backs it up as well, 100%. I mentioned your match tomorrow for Rev Pro in the Tram Shed in Cardiff, South Wales. And I'm not sure if the titles are going to be on the line here because it doesn't make it clear by the graphic, but you're going to be going up against a team that's making their Rev Pro debut, BBB. And I think they're an Italian team, an Italian tag team champions. What do you know about BBB, and what can we expect when we see that match in the Tram Shed tomorrow then, Brendan?
I know nothing about BBB. And basically you know more than me, because ultimately all I do know is that they're going to walk in the Tram Shed tomorrow and get the arse handed to them. They're not for the British tag team titles. They don't deserve it. And the only thing, what I will do, though, I will watch them after this podcast and find out a bit more about them, but I have no idea who they are.
Yes, when I was doing my research, the BBB does stand for something, but I didn't add that to my notes. So BBB, that's what we're going to be referring them to them as. But I'd say it's going to be great to have Rev Pro back in South Wales, back in Cardiff in the Tram Shed tomorrow. It's an absolutely stacked card. But one other match, and we referenced Harrison Bennett, one of my live guests this past week, of course, and he's got his first match, his debut match after making his appearance in Southampton last week against this guy here, Robbie X, and it's going to be for the Undisputed Cruiserweight Championship, British Cruiserweight Championship. Robbie X, one of the very best on the scene, one of the very best high flyers and cruiserweights in the world. And, obviously, Harrison and yourself, you have a long history together, great friends. You started in the business around the same time. You've come up through the business, crossed paths many, many times, fought and battled each other many, many times as well. But to see him get his break and his opportunity in a Rev Pro ring against somebody such as Robbie X for the title, that's pretty big, isn't it? And it puts him on a stage that he well and truly deserves.
Yeah, it's been long overdue. I think Harrison, Harry's been like slept on by the scene for the longest time, and I've been his biggest advocate because I think, I think Harry is one of those people who's been through the wrestling journey, as in like he was somebody who did get given a lot really early on, and I don't think he realized what he was given really early on. Whereas me, for example, I didn't get given things as early as Harry, but that made me appreciate it a bit more, and I think that's why I kind of got this sooner. However, it's not to say Harry doesn't deserve it, because he does deserve it. He's worked his arse off. He's changed his physique. He's a fantastic. I think he's been the best wrestler in Wales for the last 3 years, maybe more. And all the big companies slept on him. Like I don't understand why they slept on him, because you chuck him in a ring and he will have the best match on the card. And I genuinely believe he's an anomaly. He's still only 25 years old. He's 25. and he's still like he's still super young and he's still super good. And like I said, he's the same age now as when I started. You know, because I started like 24, 25, and he's just absolutely on a tear. And I think I don't even the pro promoter. I don't think he knows what he's booked. I don't think Andy Quildan realizes how good Harrison Bennett is. And in Cardiff tomorrow, he's gonna know. And I think as good as Robbie X is, I think we might be having a new undisputed British Cruiserweight champion tomorrow. And I'm rooting for him. I am rooting for him.
100%.
He deserves it.
Yeah, same here. And if you want to know a bit more about what makes Harrison Bennett tick, go and check out that interview from this past Monday. It's a fantastic insight. For 90 minutes, we chat about his love for wrestling, his career, all of his great opportunities and matches. And one story in particular that involved yourself was when he had the dark match in Progress in Birmingham in 2019 against Pete Dunne. And you were there crewing, he was there crewing. And he, like I say, he found out maybe half an hour before the doors opened that he was going to be facing Pete in the dark match. And like I say, he had to put down his kebab with garlic mayo and get ready quickly. He said you sprinted back to the car to get his gear, Brendan, and sprinted back again.
Right, that was one of many things, because he messaged me in the morning and said, "Oh, I can't go. The trees pulled blew out from my driveway." I was like, "No, I didn't. I drove there and I actually did." I was like, "I'm coming to get you. I do not care. You'll come in." I don't know what it was. Right, I just had a feeling something big was going to happen that day. I don't know why. And I said, because he was trying to make up excuses, like, "Don't want to go." I was like, "No, you come in." I picked him up. He was still drunk when I picked him up. He's in the back of the car sleeping. I was like, we're going to go through this because I feel like something's going to happen. And I don't know why, but it just happened. And as soon as the realization hit that he was wrestling Pete, he's like, "Get your gear." I sprinted, got his gear. I said, "Go out there and smash it." And my favorite moment of wrestling, one of my favorite moments of wrestling, doesn't actually concern me in the ring. It's the look me and Harry had to each other. When Pete's music went off, we looked at each other and I was like, "Now it's go time. Let's go. You know what I mean? He deserved it. You know what I mean? He was banging.
And we kind of go through that entire story just as you kind of explained it. And like I say, that pop when Pete came through the curtain, when his music started, nobody was expecting him to be there. And then kind of he kind of turned around and gave you a big grin and thought, this is it. But
I messaged his sister and his father saying, "Harry's wrestling Pete Dunne right now." I was like, told you. I was buzzed. I was so buzzed with him. Like, I get buzzed. I'm thinking about now buzzing. Like, you know what I mean?
It's a fantastic. I was just so fortunate to be there.
Honestly, God, like a lot of my favorite wrestling moments doesn't involve me. I'm really happy for my friends and people that deserve it. I want people to do well. I'm so about other people than myself, and that was a prime example of like people who deserve it because I think a lot of people get chances where they don't necessarily have worked as hard as other people and they don't deserve it sometimes, whereas Harry's one who he deserved it, man. And like seeing this Rare Pro thing now, because wrestling comes in cycles, and I think Harry's back on the good cycle now, and I think he's going to smash it tomorrow. It's going to be fantastic.
Absolutely. And just one final thing on Harry. One of my favourite matches of last year was for No Mercy Wrestling, Harrison Bennett versus James Ellis, and they absolutely killed it that night. And I told him on the interview, one of my favourite matches of 2022. He didn't believe me, but I assured him 100% those two absolutely smashed it on that night. But a few of the people that have been in touch, just if you're watching via a Facebook Live, just simply go to streamyard.com/Facebook, and then we'd be able to see your handle and your picture icon. There's a few people that have been in touch via Facebook users coming up, but good evening. Looks like we've got a few people watching via Facebook. Good evening. Been looking forward to this interview. So there are people out there that have been looking forward to this one for sure. Now, the next topic of conversation is this here, and New Wave Wrestling Academy. And there's a recent picture of the crew. I think that's possibly at a James Mason seminar. But so I think you brought New Wave Academy and New Wave Wrestling back, or kind of brought it to the scene last year, maybe about a year ago. But tell us about the genesis of bringing it back, because obviously it's an offshoot of what was Dragon Pro, of course, and you were a big part of Dragon Pro in that scene in the 2010s, mid 2010s. But why did you decide to kind of start New Wave? Obviously, you thought there was a need for it, but give us your kind of thought process behind bringing New Wave Academy to the attention of all of us.
Okay, I don't know if I'll pull the curtain back too much, but basically, I managed to apply for voluntary redundancy in my actual job. So, because I didn't want to, I was feeling like burnt out with my current job, and I love the company I work for, but it was just time for me to go. So I got voluntary redundancy. Now, within that same week, I got a good payout from that. Within the same week, then Dragon Pro was up for sale because they didn't want to continue it. They were just like, oh, we're done with it, and they just didn't want it to continue. And then at that point, one of my other close friends, Flash, he messaged me saying, Brendan, you just got redundancy. You have to take this on. And he was a bit like, you're the one in the country with the most contacts. You're the one in the country who's done the most on the British independent scene. You're the one with the most experience, and you're like the right person to do it. And it didn't take much convincing because in the pandemic and stuff, we just didn't have a training school in Wales, not a reputable one anyway, and that's not for shade in other schools. It just we didn't have a reputable training school. After some consideration, within the space of the same week, I managed to get redundancy, and then I decided to buy Dragon Pro. But in doing so, I kind of wanted Bo to be a part of it because he's the one who kind of had the biggest hand in training me. And I said, if I buy Dragon Pro without Bo, who was also a personal friend of mine, but also the best wrestling, in my opinion, the best wrestling coach in Europe, and I don't care what anyone else says, nobody has a better track record on Hitch and producing talent. You just look at people who come from Wales, and they all come from Hitch. But anyway, I'm on a mini rant there. But I said, if I buy Dragon Pro without you, then what am I buying? Because it's good. I am a good wrestler, and I'm accomplished in my own right now. But I needed him, and he agreed to kind of coach, and then just let me run it, let me kind of do my thing, and so I decided to buy it, and I knew it was a commitment because I was willing to just get another job, buy a house, and then I'm off to the races then in real life. But I felt like I had a responsibility to the Welsh scene, and because there's a lot of in wrestling, there's a lot of talking down where I wanted to bring people up. And I said the only way I can do that, because I've been somebody who complained about the Welsh wrestling scene during the pandemic. I complained about there not being enough good places. So I decided to put my money where my mouth is. And we moved from Cathays, so 2 days a week, to Flawless Combat in Newport, with a tremendous facility, a gym on site, a ring up 24/7. Me, Danny, Nico, Hitch, all coaching there, and we've grown from strength to strength to the point where, it's my full-time thing now, because I'm able to, pay the rent, pay coaches, and take a bit for myself, and also the money that gets put into the school, I'll spend on people training at the school to give them good matches, to bring them up and stuff. Because again, a lot of shows, they book experienced people against experienced people. In New Wave, the 3 or 4 shows I've done, every single match has been an experienced person against an inexperienced person, and like I said, it's bringing people up, because at the end of the day, my third match was an attack, you know what I mean, and I feel like I want to give back now to the people who decide to spend their time, spend their money with us, so they can get better as professional wrestlers. I don't want to do a trainee show with trainee against trainee. I'm not about that. That's a load of bullshit in my opinion. What I want to do is say, all right, you're ready for a show. Who do I put you against? There we go. Wrestle Mark Andrews, wrestle Flash, wrestle Bo, wrestle Danny, wrestle myself. Bring people up. And since I've done that, Chris Bronson's gone to Rev Pro after that. James Ellis has blown up after that. You got Kurt Atlas coming along now really well. You got Aluna Blue. You got like there's tons of people coming through the school now, and people are starting to know them. And I feel like that to me is justification for my actions, and I'm kind of proud of what I've done so far, because I've worked my ass off to get to this point, and now everyone got a safe place to train. They're kind of treated with respect, because I didn't always have that coming into my wrestling journey, and now it's a case of, treat others how you want to be treated, and also breed correct mannerisms, breed correct training, and breed good attitudes, and breed skilled wrestlers to be out in the scene and help the scene, bring people up, not talk down to people. That's what it's always been about for me. So it's just I don't want to see anymore with inexperienced wrestlers wrestling inexperienced wrestlers, being dangerous to one another and bringing down the scene. I want good wrestlers to go to not so good shows, help those people, bring them up, bring the quality of shows up, make the scene a safer scene, and ultimately, because I was at Parliament a couple months back, and one point was said that toxicity starts in the schools, and I genuinely believe that, and I feel like by doing things the correct way, doing things respectful, and making sure people enjoy what they're doing, and also being constructive and being positive and being supportive and genuinely caring, because I really give a shit about the people who come through these doors. I really, really care, and I want them to be better, and I would never make them do anything that I haven't done myself. But ultimately, it's a case of molding these people, because like James Ellis, for example, the first time I met him, he sheepishly came up to me at an Evo seminar and was like, "Oh, I'm James, nice to meet you." And I was like, I'd watched him, you know, I got sent a match of his about a month or two before, and I thought to myself, if he's under the right people, he could be someone. But he just needed guidance. He just needs to be put this way. He needs to be told this, and just little things, you know. I mean, it's not a lot, but little things. And I'm kind of glad that he's come to us and he's seen now there's a right way to do things. There's a lot of wrong ways to do things. There's a lot of right way to do things. But at least he's in one of the places where there is a right way to do something. And now he's just excelled because of it. And I think he's better in the ring, and he's kind of understood outside the ring is just as important as in the ring too. And I like to think that I've just been a nice person over the years and just been good to everyone. And I think that's kind of the reason why I've got so many seminars in, for example, because over the years I've kind of been nice to people and built relationships, and it just comes around full circle. The same people you meet on the way up are the same people you meet on the way down. I genuinely believe that, and I feel like it's all come full circle for me now. And I just got a great team, and it's just always a good atmosphere in New Wave, and I feel it's just a fun place to be. It doesn't feel like work for me anymore, because I love what I do, and I love empowering people, making people believe they can do something they didn't think before, and that's kind of where I get the love of it from, you know.
100%. And you mentioned the team there, and like I say, there you go. You got Nico Angelo, Danny Luna, Wild Boar, yourself, and Danny Jones, of course. And it's pretty much a full-time school. You've got something going on nearly every day of the week there, for beginners, for advanced, for mixed, induction beginners. And obviously, if you want to find out how to get in touch with New Wave, I think there's a website as well. How can people get in touch if they are interested in inquiring, joining, if they're a beginner, or maybe somebody that's been in the business for a few years that maybe want to sharpen their skills? But how can they get in touch?
Absolutely. It's www.newwavewrestlingacademy.com. You go on there, you see everything about the coaches, the pricing structures, what we can offer you, because we also offer one-to-one classes, free ring time as well. There's also a gym on site. Like I said, you get a discounted MMA classes with our friends at Flawless Combat as well. So there's a one-stop shop where you can learn from black belts in jiu-jitsu, black belts in Thai boxing, kickboxing. You got the gym there, then you got the black belts professional wrestling with Wild Boar. You know, so you got a lot going on. I think it's real value for money, especially if you're starting out your professional wrestling journey, and especially if you are a seasoned pro already, coming to keep on top of things.
100%. And you mentioned some of the seminars, and I got some of the guests here. You've had Andy Wilde down to do a seminar, Doug Williams. It doesn't get any better than being involved in a Doug Williams seminar. Eddie Dennis, of course. We've mentioned these guys before. Sunshine Machine have been down. James Mason, of course. Pretty soon, you've got Shah Samuels coming down in March, the 13th of March, and it was announced on your socials today. You've got this guy here, Akira Francesco, coming down this Saturday, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So pretty impressive list of pros, some legends of the business there as well, and like I say, top tier talent that have or are about to come down to New Wave to help the trainees out. Like I say, these seminars must always be well received, and like I say, they're invaluable to, like I say, the crop of talent that are learning from you guys in South Wales.
Absolutely, and I say to all the trainees, go to any reputable school, try and learn as much as you can. Try and go to any reputable school in the country. Go there, find out who the coaches are, and look at what they produce and everything. I go and train as many places as you can. But my philosophy as well is, we got one of the best schools in Europe, but also we can bring all the best to us because we have that facility where I have a key. So anytime there's a seminar on the go, if it's a Monday or a Friday, I can just open up. You know, that's the beauty and the flexibility that I have with the place, which we've never had before in Wales. And now we've got it. And now we can bring those seminars down. It's just a one-stop learning tool for everyone. So we open all doors. Go train where you want to train. Be the best wrestler you can be. But just to let you know, we have the best coaches here. We have the best the people who train here are amazing. They can be coaches anywhere else as well. There's such a good level of trainees who train with us as well. Myself included, I still train. You know, I mean, I still train because I can't pretend that, you know, I don't train anymore. I still train on a weekly basis because I know when it comes to weekends, I need to be the best wrestler I can be too. So like people see me training too, but also I bring all the best talent in Europe to the school because they get their value for money, and I want people to know that, again, the money they put into the school gets put back into people who train you. Because money's not the goal for me. It's bringing people up that are like, if it becomes about money for me, then I'm in the wrong job. I should just sell up. It's about the people who train you, and that's why I was never going to run a wrestling show. I was never going to run a New Wave show. But the people who came worked so hard, and it was so impressive. And I was like, they need a good platform, and the platform they need to be given is one where they're wrestling better people, so they get better. Because if they just went anywhere else, I don't think they would have had the same experiences, you know? Yeah. So now they've had those experiences, and I'm literally paying good wrestlers to wrestle these guys to bring them up. And that's where the training school money goes, is to the people who train you.
100%. And you mentioned about getting experienced pros, some of the best talent in the country down to wrestle the trainees. And I've got some pictures here of some of the matches that have happened. Flash Morgan Webster versus James Ellis, for example. Yeah. And I think James probably was already the New Wave Wrestling champion at that point. So that was a fantastic competition there. Alex Vaughan, I met Alex at a Progress show a few weeks back. A really nice young guy, a very talented young man going up against Wild Boar. Like you say, one of the best talents on the scene. Greedy Souls versus Act 2. I'm sure that was an absolute banger. And you mentioned the Luna Blue. Luna Blue was a guest of mine in December against Echo there. Two very young, bright, exciting female performers on the scene, and Luna Blue versus Danny Luna. Like I say, I think that's the epitome of having, like I say, somebody that's relatively new in the business and an experienced pro like Danny Luna, who is one of the coaches there, of course. And of course, this one here, James Ellis, again against Mark Andrews. So that just demonstrates kind of what you were trying to achieve there with having, like I say, the newer talent, the trainees going up against some of the best in the country to get the best out of both of them, really. Like I say, you're only going to get better by facing opponents better than you, and I think that's a perfect way to do it.
Well, like I said, and with those graphics, and Danny Luna end up wrestling both girls. For the shows going forward, I do have other guys. I'm bringing other guys down as well. You know, I'm bringing a Sunshine Machine down. I'm bringing Millie McKenzie down at some point. I'm bringing guys down to wrestle my guys. Because for the first couple of shows, we got enough people to wrestle these people. But point is, green wrestling green equals green. Now, the Rev Pro Contender thing, when I did the Rev Pro Contender stuff a couple of years back, that's how I learned, because I was constantly in the ring with better people than me, and in turn it got me better. And then I went to other shows, got better wrestling people not as good as me, and then it just all built up, you know. And I feel like my wrestling journey, whilst it hasn't been the easiest, it's probably been one of the hardest, but it's been the one now where, in the position I'm in now, I can give back and tell them what the right way is, or what I think the right way is, and what I think would be good for them. And sometimes it's hard, but nothing worth having is easy, in my opinion. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And a couple of pictures, I think it's possibly from one of your most recent shows there at the church in Cardiff, I believe. And there's the gang. Like I say, what a fantastic crop. And one person that I've actually got coming on the show in a few weeks' time, somebody you know very, very well. And that's a certain Shane Hooker. Now, he's a very, very exciting young talent. And he didn't come up in any of the match graphics there. But I know that you're actually going to be facing that young man this coming Saturday, aren't you? So as well as having Francesco Akira down to do a bit of a seminar that day, you're also going to be facing Shane Hooker. Is it for Outcast Wrestling? The Outcast Wrestling, but a fairly new promotion. That could be one of, if not their first show. But that's a pretty exciting match. Yourself versus Shane, one of your trainees there. But I've got to know Shane a little bit over the last year or so. And it's incredible to think that he's only been in the business maybe a year. But like I say, that's going to be a fun match for you both, I'm sure, this coming Saturday.
It'll be the easiest match of my career. I'm not worried about it. It's fine.
I'm sure Shane will have, like say, something to prove on Saturday for sure. But go and check it.
Size matters. That's what I'm saying.
Go and check it out, and just remind us of the website one more time. It is newwavewrestlingacademy.com. Is that right, Brendan?
That's the one. It's at the bottom of the graphic. You can see there.
Get it? Yeah.
And the Outcast Wrestling Club is this Saturday. I highly recommend going. It will be wicked. It's under Josh Hawley and Kagi. They're two wonderful human beings. It'll be a great show, and it's just another great contribution to the Welsh wrestling scene. So yeah,
100%. And we had another question before we went live, Brendan. And how was your experience over in Germany for WXW a few weeks ago? So I think at the tail end of February, if I'm not mistaken, you were performing for WXW, and I've got a few slides to bring up here, some match graphics of your time out there. And let's say I think you were in maybe 1 or 2 tag team encounters and 1 or 2 singles matches as well. As yourself and Danny backstage getting ready for one of your matches and coming out in front of the WXW fans there. And but to answer Richard's question, how was your experience over in Germany for WXW? And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that was possibly your first or one of your first forays outside of the UK. Is that right?
Yeah, I don't know why it took me so long to get a European booking, because I definitely could have had some sooner. I just never looked for it, I don't think. However, I had a set of goals this year, and my European bookings was one of the goals. And I'm in Italy in September, and WXW is the biggest one in Europe, and that's a hell of a way to kind of go out there and make a scene. And it was banging. The only thing I didn't like was every shop in Germany had sparkling water. Like, who drinks sparkling water? Who drinks it? I have no idea. Anyway, but the crowds were banging. They were appreciative, and they made you really feel like a star, because they come to see you afterwards on the merch table. And they buy your stuff. They have pictures of you. They talk to you, and they were really kind of like, they were just amazing. And one of the German fans said, like, I'm damn hot. So I was like, oh, thank you for that. And I told Danny afterwards, I'm the better looking one of the greedy souls, and he didn't like that. So yeah, I'll take that.
100%. And I know they got annual tag team tournaments. And is that something that you'd be open to if they were to invite you over for the annual tag team tournament? Obviously, you made an impression while you were out there in January, and let's say popular with the fans. And some of the fans, like I say, thinking that you're hot and buying your merch as well, Brendan.
Absolutely, yeah.
Another foray over to Germany, WXW, and their tag team tournament later on in the year, maybe?
Yeah, 1,000%. That crowd, they were so loud. I couldn't, honestly, I put a clip on my Instagram right there. I was just doing loads of body slams, and I'm going mad, and the crowd were just coming up. They were so welcoming. And to be honest with you, it was probably one of the best experiences of my career. I loved it. So yes, Tag League, Greedy Souls, best tag team tournament in Europe. Gotta have the best team in Europe, and I think we will be by that point. Let's go.
Yeah, the WXW World Tag Festival, I think it is.
Yeah,
and,
let's do it.
Usually later on in the year, but I think last year was about October. But they have varied it from time to time. And let's see where we are. So I want to talk to you about some of your 2022 highlights, if I can. And we've already spoken about Sunshine Machine. And I think your first encounter as the Greedy Souls with Chuck and TK as the Sunshine Machine was during the Peckham era of Progress, if I'm not mistaken. You were very much a part of those tapings. And I think that's possibly where the two teams would have faced for the first time, Brendan.
Yeah, they were. And I will say this, they were some of my favorite matches in the Peckham era. I think me and Dan just, like, we were a team. I feel like there might be other teams saying they were this and they were that. You go back and watch those Peckham tapings, Greedy Soul matches, the Sunshine Machine Aces, and Smoking Aces or whatever. They were the best tag matches. I don't care what anyone says. They were like work, and they were just so much fun. And I knew I loved wrestling properly, right? Because I always thought wrestling without the fans is not wrestling. And there was a couple of times, because I was probably the only wrestler in Wales doing Rev Pro tapings and Progress tapings, and I felt I had a existential crisis at one point, because I was like taking the bumps and getting beat up, and I was like, oh, there's no crowd here, this sucks. However, I fell back in love and wrestling again in the Peckham era, and the match of the Sunshine Machine and Smoking Aces and others, they really made me realize how much I do love wrestling. And 50 fans of 50,000, I just love professional wrestling, and those matches were great. They were awesome. That was a good time, actually. It was a great time. Love that.
Yeah, 100%. And like I say, surprisingly, although you've known Danny Jones and tagged with him for a long time, you only started tagging with him in Rev Pro about July of last year. But before that, your semi-regular tag team partner in Rev Pro was a certain Doug Williams, wasn't it? And there you are in one match graphic. Now, I've already said, what an absolute legend Doug is, and he came down as one of your seminar guests last year. But getting the opportunity to work with team with and partner up with a legend such as Doug Williams before Danny joined you in the Rev Pro circles. That must have been a bit of a thrill for you and some great times.
Oh, absolutely. And Doug, I told Doug this when he came to the seminar. I told him before I wrestled him, because I got to wrestle him. Like, I got to wrestle Doug Williams. You know, I've wrestled some cool people that, you know, the Zack Sabres of the world, the Pete Dunnes, and but Doug Williams is right up there. You know, I mean, he's really up there. And I used to love his Ring of Honor run. You know, I watched him in Eddie Greer when he came over years and years ago on the wrestling channel and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So it was a real cool moment for me, real full circle stuff. And I was ringside for Doug Williams and Will Ospreay, and I was going nuts on the outside. I was just proper into that match. It was cool. Yeah, and like I say, I know Doug's not a Rev Pro anymore, but I had a great time teaming with Doug, and yeah, it was just real cool experience for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of my guests about this time last year, about 12 months ago, was Nick Riley, one half of the Smoking Aces. And I think it was just maybe days or possibly a week or so after you had an epic tag team match with the Smoking Aces for Southwest Wrestling. And it was this match here. I saw it back after speaking to Nick, and it was one of the loudest, one of the most raucous, one of the craziest, one of the most hard-hitting, fast-paced tag team matches you're ever likely to see. And I had to go back and watch it a second time. It was that good, and the crowd were just going nuts. But Smoking Aces, you've already mentioned it once or twice already here, Brendan, but similar to Sunshine Machine, whenever Greedy Souls get in the ring with Smoking Aces, you've got this chemistry. The match is 1,000 miles an hour, and you guys just go at it. A lot of fun with the Smoking Aces.
Like there's two matches I always recommend go back and watching. Like they were all fun, they were all fantastic matches, right? But the first one we had in Progress, the first ever tag team tournament match, Aces and Souls, right? It's 11 minutes of just bonkers, no stopping, bang, bang, bang. And then the second one then is that first match you on about, the Southwest match in Trinity Centre. The crowd were insane. And that match, right? When that match, because I went to that match, right? I was pretty injured going to that match. My back was killing, and I was like, I don't think I can do much because I'd hurt my back about a week or so before, and I was just like a bit burnt out, and I couldn't train properly. And I went into it dreading it because I was like, I can't be asked. My back's killing me. However, wrestling being wrestling and being magic, the crowd were just super loud for me as well, and they were probably into it and stuff. And I remember doing a shoulder tackle at the start of the match, and the crowd just went bananas. I was like, all right, suck it up then, Brendan. You're going, because you'll notice I'm moving a bit slower than normal because it was just a lot of pain, but I just sucked it up. I was doing double throws off the top, you know, taking destroyers again, like I said, it was just wrestling magic on that night, and we all came back. And the promoter was just like, that's the best time match I've ever seen. And everyone was buzzing backstage. And like Nick and Charlie, like, you know, I hate them both, but they're amazing wrestlers. You know what I mean? They're real good dudes. And yeah, it was just, that was just one of those moments where we all said to each other afterwards, like, we'll treasure that one, because that was a real cool moment. Because I didn't realize, because me and Dan came back, we didn't realize what happened because we were just like chilled. We came back and like, oh, that was fun. And then everyone's like, whoa, that was like, that's when we realized like, a lot of people watched that match backstage, and a lot of people thought that was like a crazy match. But me and Dan just like, because we just like chilled, we just like, oh, okay, that was fun. But everyone said that, so yeah.
And there were some crazy spots in that match, but you know what Nick Riley's like. He's just an absolute daredevil. But the four of you absolutely went to town, and it is available, I believe, on Southwest Wrestling's YouTube channel. That's certainly how I got to see it. Go and check it out. You won't be disappointed. Another tag team I want to talk to you about, you've had a couple of encounters with over the last year or so, is the Kings of the North. And you faced them twice, I think, in the TNT ring and for ICW. But when you talk about kind of top tier tag teams like Smoking Aces, like Sunshine Machine, like Greedy Souls, and like Costume, and one or two others, you know, Kings of the North are always in that conversation. But like I say, getting the opportunity to face them for ICW and TNT, especially with their reputation and their credibility and all their accomplishments, that must have been a pretty cool moment for you both as well.
Oh, amazing. And like I said, all three times we wrestled in ICW and TNT twice. It was a disqualification in ICW. They beat us once in TNT. We beat them once in TNT. Let's have another match. Let's go. Because they are fun boys. They are fun lads. And I genuinely respect those lads a lot. I've always got time for them. And like I said, if they're ever down in Wales, or if we ever have to go to Rev Pro or Progress or anywhere else, OTT, let's go. Let's do it.
100%. And I want to take you back to last September now, because I was in Cardiff that weekend, and a very, very special weekend. Obviously, you had WWE in town. Clash at the Castle was a phenomenal day. Cardiff was buzzing. You could literally feel the atmosphere of just walking around Cardiff. I think I even bumped into you walking around Cardiff as well. But like I say, that amazing weekend, and then the Sunday, and you had a double header, and you had on the morning show, you're up against Lycos Gym in the number one contenders match. And then later on that evening or afternoon, you was in a world championship match against the TNT champion, Dan Maloney, and two incredible matches. But considering the whole weekend and the whole occasion, and kind of the UK wrestling fraternity all kind of dropped onto Cardiff that one weekend, and then of course your big weekend, I think there was a huge spotlight on wrestling in South Wales, a huge spotlight on, like I say, people like yourself, but that must be a weekend that you'll never forget.
Well, I was the only wrestler in the UK who did all three shows. And I remember
ICW,
I was the only one who did all three. And I remember thinking, right, this is wrestling Wales, and I'm at the forefront of this, because I was, and ultimately, like, all three matches, they were three of the best matches that weekend as well, but also three of my favorite matches, and for different reasons. But that TNT match, I was beat up. I had about 65 matches that month. I did loads of camps. I did lots of progress shows. I did lots of wrestling that month, and I was
65 matches. Did you say
in that month? Yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. I was beat up, but I remember, like, for all 3 days, there was new wave trainees in the crowd, ring crew in the crowd, and I wanted to there was a lot of pressure on me, because I didn't want to be that guy teaching other people how to wrestle and being a rotten wrestler myself. I wanted to show these guys who their coach was, you know what I mean? And I don't know whether I achieved that or not, but by the time I wrestled Dan Maloney, that crowd had seen about 18 matches that day. And time that match finished, I don't know if he was there or not, but
I was there.
There was a standing ovation at the end. There was everyone on their feet, everyone chanting for me. I got emotional in that ring, because it was my passion, my love, and I just knew that I'd been involved in a very physical match, and I was more proud of the fact that I did it in front of my trainees, and also people who trained me. Like, Bo was in the crowd. He saw me afterwards. You know, Eddie Dennis in the crowd. He's had a hand in training me. He was in the crowd too, and like, they came up to me, and like, they were kind of like really good to me, and it was a full circle moment for me, because I felt for the first time in a long time, because I've doubted myself for years. I've had that self-doubt for years and years and years. But I remember Gabe Kidd telling me a long time ago that if you don't believe you're good, nobody else will. And I didn't listen to that advice until after that TNT match, because that's when I was like, all right, I can hang with the best. I'm one of the best now. I can do this, and I represent the scene now. And that reaction at the end of that match for me and Dan, after with a really tired crowd too, and they came up and they made the most noise in that last match. That was proud for me.
Yeah, I was there. I was there for both shows. I was there for the whole weekend. And like I say, that main event against Dan Maloney. And you deserved that standing ovation at the end. It was an amazing way to cap off the weekend. It was an amazing World Championship match, and you came so close. But yeah, like I say, I'm sure there'll be many more opportunities down the line. But what a weekend for yourself as well. And just a few pictures. You mentioned the trainees there they were. Kind of before the kind of the progress show, which was show number one, and then of course afterwards there with Jay in the centre, Jay Apter, and your guys and girls after the second show. What a phenomenal weekend! But Brendan, let's take it all the way back and give us a bit of a glimpse into your wrestling fandom. And I know you said you kind of started maybe as a pro, maybe a bit later in life. You said that, you know, Harrison's 24, 25 now. That's when you started your journey. But what about your wrestling fandom? Did that also start late on, or have you always been a wrestling fan?
Oh, well, so I was a wrestling fan from the very, very first show I watched. I was like a 3-year-old kid watching the first King of the Ring tournament.
Really?
And
Wow.
I've always been a diehard wrestling fan. I went away for a couple of years, then I came back for Royal Rumble 2000 with Cactus Jack, Triple H, and the thing is, I used to be like a backyard wrestler as well. So I used to wrestle with Flash and Bo in the backyards and stuff. Wow. And then I went wrestling training back in like 2004, 2007, maybe I was like 15, 14. Then I quit again. Then I did a bit in 2008 as well. I quit again. And then I went back then towards the tail end of 2013, but I went away again because I wasn't committing all the time. I just went because I just love wrestling. I did the training, but I didn't actually ever want to step in a ring. So even though I stepped in the ring at like 24, 25, I'd been training for a long time. So the longest period of time I had training was from like 2014 to 2015. I trained for a good solid year all the time, and then it came to a point where I was ready for my first match and stuff. And I was like, as far as being ready for your first match concerned, I was really ready because I trained for a long time. I also with the backyard experiences as well, because a lot of the moves I do now I used to do in backyard wrestling. So I do the same things. But it was that self-doubt thing all the time. It was always that self-doubt thing. Like I said, I wasn't kidding when I said that. I always doubted myself all the time. And it's a problem I've only just got out of, because I need to get out of that problem, because I'm trying to tell other people they can do it. So I need to believe it myself. But it's only when I had the cancer diagnosis in 2015 that I was in the hospital bed and I kind of woke up. I was like, I'm in a job I don't want to be in. I always felt like I had to. I always felt like I always felt like I was meant to achieve something. Like, I know that sounds stupid, but I always felt I was destined to do something. And when I woke up from the hospital after the diagnosis stuff, I was like, right, I'm going to give it a go. And within 6 months of the cancer diagnosis, I was in a wrestling ring, and I've never looked back since. And my first match went really well. It was against Bo, and I had size 12 shoes on. I was size 10 feet. But the match went way better than they should have for a first match, and we was off to the races then.
Yeah, and am I right in thinking that in 2015 it was Dragon Pro that you were kind of finding your feet with, and you started out in competition with Dragon Pro?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And tell us a bit about them first couple of years, because I think you very, very soon, I mean, I think Dragon Pro, Attack Pro Wrestling, you were kind of wrestling for them fairly frequently through your first couple of years, and you were branching out as well. But I know you said that you did wrestling training earlier on and came back later on. But how did you find the first year or two kind of being on the scene, regular competition, training at Dragon Pro? Did you take to it naturally, and did you enjoy that process, certainly in the early years?
I think I had the mindset for it mentally, because I'd always been a lifelong wrestling fan, but physically I just wasn't there, because, ironically, I used to be really out of shape and stuff, but then when I came into wrestling and stuff, even when I had the cancer diagnosis, I became a long distance runner, so I started running marathons and stuff. So when I got into training, when I considered properly training wrestling, it was like 2013, 2014, and 15. I was in shape at that point, so I was always in shape. Mentally I was there, and then I did start to take it at that point. I was kind of getting good at that point. Well, I thought it was, but then obviously you realize how bad you are, which I did 100 odd matches in, which is another story. But I took it quite well. I was I was a rugby background as well, so I was quite a physical person.
Right.
And obviously, and to be honest as well, like I sound like a dick, but I was bigger than most people too. So it kind of like you made it a bit like, I can move people around if I wanted to and stuff. I just loved it. I think some people take it a lot slower. Like I did take it slower because I wasn't always an athlete. But then when I decided to kind of get myself in shape and stuff and be functionally fit, not aesthetically fit, functionally fit. I train for function. I don't train to have abs and nothing like that. I train for the purposes of being a pro wrestler. And I feel like, don't get me wrong, I could be a bit thinner, but at the same time, if you go to a gym with me or anything like that, I'm gonna try and blow you up. That's kind of how I work, and that's kind of how I operate. So I train for function, and I think once I started training for function instead of training for a look, that's when I started enjoying my wrestling journey and then just have fun.
Yeah, and when I was speaking to Harry on Monday, he mentioned that the two of you, you did a fair bit of CrossFit for a while. How was that experience? Because that doesn't sound easy any day of the week, but apparently you were kind of, you both were going to CrossFit training, and I don't know if it's something you still do today. Yeah,
I did a session this morning. It was a lot of weighted lunges, a lot of Romanian deadlifts, a lot of assault bike on the calories and stuff like that. Like I said, like I've come to a point now where I'm starting to kind of realize, because I'm wrestling more and training more with the school, I need to do a bit less CrossFit because I need to let my body rest. But I generally tend to go like 2 or 3 times a week even now, just to keep me ticking over.
Yeah, yeah. And 2018, I mean, just going through your kind of history and your matches, 2018 appeared to be a bit of a breakout year for you, in my opinion, Brendan. And if we look at it, I mean, you're performing for companies like Evolution, making your debuts for companies like Reach, for example. You're in the title picture for the All Wales Championship. And you also got a chance to work Pete Dunne when he was the NXT UK champion or the WWE United Kingdom champion. So 2018, I think that was probably the year that maybe filled you with a lot of confidence and kind of told you, yes, I can do this. Look at the caliber of companies that I'm working for. Look at the caliber of performers that I'm working with. So many quality matches. But tell us a bit about 2018, because I think that was a bit of a breakout year, and getting the chance to wrestle Pete Dunne as well must have been a real highlight.
Well, I'm gonna shock you. It was quite the opposite. I'll tell you why. Like places like Evo, like I said, I've always been grateful for them because they give me bookings when nobody else did, and I'd always be grateful for them. And I always had a lot of fun working there and stuff. And hopefully, we worked on the line. They were a lot of fun to work for. Same with Reach as well. You know, they give me chances against Nick Riley way before I was ready and stuff. And that was a match I learned from. But I was still this hokey cowboy sort of thing, kind of terrible gimmick. So don't put any of those pictures up there, please. But when I wrestled Pete, for example, like, yeah, the match was great and stuff like that, and it was real fun. But it was in that match I realized how bad I was. I had 105 matches. I realized how bad I was as a wrestler. Because he was just, I was throwing him about, like suplexing him like 16, 17 times a match, which for Pete, he didn't have to do that, but he did for me. And I always appreciate that, because that's why I always give back to people now. So if I'm wrestling newer people, I will go out my way to make sure that I give him as much as I can, because Pete did that for me. And he told me to kick with his finish on the fly as well. Like unplanned, he said kick out because
Really?
he's out there with the crowd. Yeah, and that for me, I was like, what the heck? You know, but it made me realize how bad it was, and it made me realize to work harder, because I wasn't in shape. I started CrossFit towards the end of 2018 then, ironically. And then 2019 was my breakout year, I feel. 2019 was the year I took it seriously, and 2018 was the year I realized how bad it was to get better for 2019.
Yeah, and I've got this picture here of yourself with Pete. But I mean, you mentioned 2019. In 2019, I think that was the year when you won the Evolution Championship. You defended it against people like Yeston Reese and Joel Redmond. I mean, yeah, I'll kind of back you up on what you said there. Maybe 2019 was more of a breakout year. It was also the year where you first started tagging with Danny Jones as the Greedy Souls, 2019. So kind of thinking back on it, maybe 2019 was maybe a better year for you. But I'd say getting to defend your Evolution Championship against people like Yeston and Joel in particular. I'd say, any fond memories of facing those two?
Absolutely, I love working with Yeston. I remember one day we had a title match where we went to watch a Wales-England game at the Millennium Stadium first, and then we got to the show. We went to the Millennium Stadium together, watched the rugby match. Wales beat England, and then we drove to Evolution. And the time we got there, our music going on for the main event. We just went out and wrestled. Yeah, it was banging. I love Yeston. He's a good dude. And same with Joel as well, because Joel was someone, he was always a litmus test for me. And when I first wrestled him, I think Joel was happy, but I couldn't keep up with him. But the first time I beat him for the Evolution
He's a machine, isn't he?
Yeah, the first time I remember wrestling him, I couldn't keep up with him, even though I tried, because I just wasn't in shape. But I won the belt with him, and I knew I had to get better. The second time I wrestled him, because I'd put a lot of work in that and being in shape, I had one of my favorite matches with him. One of my favorite ever matches. I defended the belt against him. One of my favorite matches ever. And the best thing about it was I went out the night before, got really drunk, and I still wrestled him, kept up with him, hungover. And I was like, that to me was a litmus test of like, I would never like turn up to a show in a bad way or nothing like that. And I wasn't in a bad way. It's fine. But the fact that I went out the night before, it was like, because if I was wrestling Joel before that, I'd be like, oh, I gotta stay and make sure I rest and stuff. But I was like, I'm confident in my build. I've worked hard. I'm confident in the fact that like I can go out and enjoy my real life with my uni friends, go home the next day, drink a lot of water, be fine, and then go to the show and have a bang with Joel. And that second match with Joel is one of my favorite matches. I love that one.
Yeah, absolutely. And skip into 2020, but you are the current All Wales champion, and got a couple of pictures here. Look at that beautiful belt, holding it with pride.
Man. Look like
indeed.
Look that Jim said I was hot. Look how hot he is.
But you've held the championship now for 3 years, and I know we had COVID, and you brought the championship back into prominence. I think it was maybe July of last year. But I mean, what did it mean first off for you? I mean, you'd been chasing the championship for a few years beforehand. It had eluded you. You finally, I think it was Harrison Bennett you beat for the championship in about February of 2020. But, you know, what did it mean to you to finally win the All Wales Championship? Obviously, in my opinion, it's one of the most honoured and prestigious titles in all of Wales. It has its lineage back to the Dragon Pro days as well. But to finally win the championship after all that chasing, that must have been a pretty cool moment for you.
Oh, it was a full circle moment. Like I said, I was told I was unbookable. I had to drop the cowboy stuff, and I remember like losing every single match in Dragon Pro. I lost every single match. And then when I decided to stop being something I wasn't and be everything I am, because in real life, you know, I train like a savage. I train, I work hard, I bust my ass more than everyone else. So I decided, why am I trying to be something else when I am a real life workhorse? So let's be that. And I ran with that. And the first time I had a chance wrestling as myself, being authentically me, because that's what I am now. I'm still authentically me now, like 100% that. And when I got to wrestle Harry, the crowd were into me. They'd seen my journey. They were into Harry. They'd seen his journey. It was back and forth, and we wrestled for 32 minutes. 32 minutes we wrestled, and the crowd was chanting non-stop. And when I finally beat him, it was validation for everything that I went through to get to that point. You know what I mean? Every time I feel like I'm not good enough, every time I got told I was unbookable, every time I had a bad match, every time I had a good match, every time like I felt down on myself, every time I doubted myself, I was like, no, I'm the man now. And it was no, it was cool. It was cool, like because like wrestling is wrestling, but some things are real to me, and that was a real kind of moment for me. That was a life moment. That was really cool. I did it with my best friends too, and it's cool.
100%. What was your decision to kind of bring it back or bring it back into prominence? And it's been defended in Defends and Chaos, New Wave Wrestling. So it is kind of the All Wales Championship for a reason. But what was your decision to bring it back only last summer?
Well, like in a pandemic, I agreed to wrestle for Chaos because I needed work because obviously no promotions around. So I agreed to like wrestle a number of dates for them. So I agreed to do that. But then I did out of desperation. But then like I remembered before the pandemic, I came out and then like the then owners, Dave, Nick, and Rob decided to play Lose Yourself because I did bad in karaoke and they thought it was a joke for me, you know, make fun of me and stuff, I think. And obviously Flash and Ball then, obviously my friends who run Chaos, by the way, like, because we have a personal relationship and a professional one, right? So professionally speaking, I do have genuine gripes, right? And I felt like when I came back to Chaos, they still thought I was a bit of a joke when I spent about 7 years now, like becoming a dead serious wrestler.
Yeah.
A very, very confident heavyweight wrestler. And I felt like I won the number one contention for the Chaos Championship. And I was like, I don't want to wrestle a championship or a company that don't respect me. And even the fans as well. They still don't respect me now, even though I put my heart and soul into wrestling. And even like I've revived the Welsh scene. I've brought back a wrestling training school. I'm helping new talent for them to see. And they still think I'm a joke sort of thing. So I decided I'm not going to wrestle for them. I'm going to wrestle for the things that I cared about. And I remember wrestling in front of in the Neon in Newport. I wrestled in front of the Welsh wrestling fans. And I remember they respected me. They saw my journey. Whether it was a good guy or bad guy, they were behind me. And I felt like I didn't have that in Chaos. So I brought it back to defend a championship that meant something to me. Because that's a respect title. That's a workhorse title. And not, I didn't want to be a king of Chaos with like an idiot promotion with idiot fans, and that's the way I feel about it. And that's a professional gripe. That's not a personal one because Flash and Ball will be my friends for forever. I'll be friends on 20 years. But professionally, I've always felt they look down on me. They always think they always thought it was a bit funny to kind of play Lose Yourself or on a personal like night out circumstances and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I feel like professionally, I got my genuine gripes. I've always felt like they thought they were better than me or they think I'm the funny man, but no, I'm a real professional wrestler and I'm a real workhorse, and I feel like Chaos kind of pissed me off, and I'm obligated now to wrestle for them. Like, cause I agreed so many dates in the pandemic because I just needed work. Now I'm stuck there, so okay, if I'm stuck there, I'm gonna wrestle on my terms, not their terms, and I don't care what the fans think. I don't care. With Chaos, they're the only place I don't care about their opinions. I will do my thing at Chaos, and I'm gonna be the always champion for a very long time.
There we go. There we go. And some people that you've defended the title against since bringing it back. Elijah. I had Elijah on the show last September, around the time when you had that epic match for I think it was for Chaos. And like I say, a great story, a great promo package between the two of you leading up to that match. Eddie Dennis as well, Mark Andrews and Splits McPins. Like I say, I think you've also defended it against Harry, against Harrison Bennett, to man you took the title from 3 years ago. And like I say, there's this picture here of yourself, Splits, and Mark after that fantastic match. But like I say, some great talent that you've defended against, and it's a very prestigious title. Like you say, you've helped to elevate the championship, and the championship and yourself have helped to elevate the wrestling scene in Wales and South Wales, hand in hand. But some of the talent you've defended against there, some of the matches you've had, and some of the stories you've told, got to be some of your highlights of the last 12 months.
Yeah, I just proved to myself that I think I'm one of the best heavyweight wrestlers in the UK. Now I'm in the best tag team in the UK, but me and Dan are both very accomplished singles wrestlers too. So I just feel like I'm on a roll right now, and I think Chaos is one of those places where I'm just having match after match, bang after banger. Eddie Dennis is someone I used to look up to massively, and to be in the ring with him, and not just be in the ring with him, but beat him. That is like real life stuff for me. Elijah, me and him, like, I have a deep respect for Elijah, real deep respect for him, because everything he said in that promo was true. Like, we are the Welsh wrestling scene, and for him to want to wrestle me for the All Wales Championship, which is an unofficial title in Chaos, that meant the world to me. That legitimized the reason for bringing it back, and I want to keep having these matches. I want to be that All Wales champion for a very long time. So anybody wants to step up for it, let's go. Like Danny Luna tried last time, she's back in the queue now. Let's go.
Yeah, 100%. Let's go to some questions that have come through. And we've got a friend of the show, good friend of mine, Tom Holly Lee, has been in touch, watching us live via YouTube. Thank you, Tom. You took a huge step in leaving your job to pursue wrestling and coaching full-time. How did you find the transition, and were there any challenges you faced during that time? Much love, Tom. So thank you, Tom. And how would you respond to that? Any challenges that you faced kind of during that transition?
Well, I think leaving the job, I think, because I took it like on voluntary redundancy, that meant I could take a calculated risk. So the financial situation was something that I could take some risks on. So, I spent a fair few £1,000 of my own money to pursue the school. So I think had I not left my job in any other way, I don't think I'd have been able to do it, because I would have just walked into another job and just been a weekend wrestler. But I think, because my company I work for, which again, I love that company, and I have good relationships with everyone there, and I left on good terms. But by being able to leave on voluntary redundancy terms meant that I had a bit extra money to kind of take a chance. And yeah, there were challenges along the way. I remember one training session where there's like 3 people there, and 2 of them were me and Nico, 2 of the coaches. Just one person turned up, and we put the ring up, put the ring down. But I still wasn't deterred. I still wanted to do 2 hours of training, and we did that. And we still can, and that's when I knew I love what I'm doing, because if only one person turns up and I'm still wanted to coach and still wanted to do things, that to me tells me I'm doing the right thing. And I feel like having that belief that I'm doing something right is what's kind of making all the risks and challenges worth it. Because there's times where I'll lose money on a show. There's times where I'll make money on a show. There's times where training sessions are hard, but all those times, because I know I'm doing something for someone, not necessarily me, I'm doing something for someone, that's what makes it worth it.
100%. And we got Alex Perez, I think I've pronounced that right, watching us via Facebook. Stipulation that was more brutal to compete in: ladder match, interdimensional mystery portal match, rumble match, hair versus hair, jumpers for goal, jumpers for ring posts, tables, and street fights. So wouldn't it be fun if all of those were kind of one match stipulation? That would be a hell of a match graphic for sure. But any particular stipulations there that jump out? I've seen you in a tables match. Spoke to Harrison about the hair versus hair match. But looks like some of those look like a hell of a lot of fun.
The one which is the most brutal is that ladder match. Oh my god. That ladder match, it was the first Dragon Pro show in the Neon back in 2018, and I was like, I'm going to do some stuff today. I want to really show Dragon Pros on the map. And there was 2 bumps in particular. I took a bump off a ladder through another ladder, which cut my back up to pieces. And then the other bump, which is still to this day the worst bump I've ever taken in a match. I used to do this Samoan drop, like a shingo thing, so I throw him up on. I did off the ladder to Danny Jones, which is now my tag partner. But we came off the top of the ladder. He landed before me, and a wrestling ring, there's a spring. So as he landed, the spring went down, but I followed him straight after. There was no give. So I just landed, and believe it or not, wrestling fans, a wrestling ring really, really hurts. I'm still winded now, and I did training on Tuesday. You know, I'm genuinely serious how painful it is. So to land about 12 foot from the air to a ring with no give, I was winded for like a week. I had to go in the office when I was working and try and speak to people and stuff. And I was like, it was horrendous. And I never, ever want to do that bump again. I never, ever, ever want to be in a ladder match again. So it sucked. Yeah.
There we go. And Nikki Hillier is watching us via YouTube. Thank you, Nikki. Evening, gents. Just want to know how long Brendan is going to keep the streak going with the All Wales Championship title. So I don't think you've got any intentions of giving it up anytime soon. And I'd say if there's anybody good enough, let's say lay down your challenge. But it's yours you've had it for 3 years. You plan to have it for another 3 years, surely?
That's a silly question. That's like rhetorical questions. That's like how do you like breathing? Yeah, great. It keeps me alive. Like I'm oh yeah, I feel like giving up the All Wales Championship next year. Can't be asked.
I think he intends to keep it for a very long time, Nikki. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. And we got Isaac Wide watching us via YouTube. Brendan, if you got the chance to wrestle anybody, who would your dream opponent be? So do you have like a bit of a wish list or a bucket list of opponents, whether it be UK based or further afield, that you might like to face, tag team or singles?
Yeah, so I've got a couple. But before I answer that question, Isaac, that's for you. I hate Isaac. But I'll answer that question though, because you've asked. Yeah, so I was meant to wrestle Will Ospreay in September. That was one of my dream matches. Definitely want to do that. I definitely want to wrestle Tomohiro Ishii. He came to Rev Pro quite recently, and I think my style with his style is compatible. And then obviously I want to wrestle teams like Aussie Open, which I've done before, but not with Danny Jones. I think me and Danny against Aussie Open would be very, very tasty. And also FTR. I really want to wrestle FTR. I think me and Dan are just like the UK kind of, no, I'm not gonna say UK equivalent, but we are the UK kind of team to match up with their style. And I feel like we are kind of, that would be a tasty match. So if anybody wants to make it happen, let's go, because I believe we can hang with the best.
Oh, I can kind of see that match happening in my head right now for sure. Richie, who's watching us via Facebook, via YouTube, my apologies. If you had to add a female member to the Greedy Souls, who would it be? So if you were to add a third member, maybe a female member to the Greedy Souls, anybody in mind or anybody you'd like to bring into the Greedy Souls? Good question, that, Richie. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a great question, but I just can't answer it because I just don't know. I don't know. Yeah, we'll have a Luna Blue. We'll call her Luna Green, all right? And I'll add a day.
Fantastic. And a question from me now. Let's obviously there's yourself and Danny, two very handsome chaps as the Riot Cabaret Tag Team Champions. But Riot Cabaret also gave you a great opportunity, I think last month, to wrestle one of your childhood heroes, if I'm not mistaken, or be in the ring with him, a certain Mr. Blobby. Now, you look more thrilled to be around Mr. Blobby than Danny does there. But did I see right in one of your social posts that was a legit kind of childhood hero of yours, Mr. Blobby?
Well, when you look at me and Danny in that picture, then you can tell one's in their 20s and one's in their 30s, right? Because of how happy I am. How happy Danny is. Like when I was a kid, right, I used to have Mr. Blobby mask, I had a Mr. Blobby suit, everything, man. And and the thing is, right, wrestling fans like, oh, Mr. Blobby, like, no, it was the real one. It was the real one? Mr. Blobby. And honest to God, right, when I realized, because I was walking to the venue, right, and they was like, oh, have you seen who was on the show today? I was like, no. And as I walk through, I see Mr. Blobby. I lose my shit. And everyone thinks like I'm taking the piss. Like, I'm like, no, I'm dead serious. I'm like, Mr. Blobby was like childhood hero, man. Like him, Dave Benson Phillips and stuff. You know, that was like the 90s TV shows when I was a kid, you know what I mean? I was like losing my mind. I was like, Mr. Blobby. And I was like to Bo, I was like to Danny, I was like, Dan, we need to get a picture with Mr. Blobby. We need to have that picture. And I remember, unfortunately, like Tommy Carr suffered a pretty bad injury and stuff and at the show, and I had to carry him into that hospital, like the car afterwards and stuff to get to the hospital. But before I did that, I made sure I had a selfie with Mr. Blobby first. That picture of me, Mr. Blobby, I was like, "Hi, Mr. Blobby, a car mate," and then I carried Tommy Carr to the car, you know. But as much as I love Tommy Carr, I had to have a picture of Mr. Blobby before I did anything. I had to.
Oh, 100%. And so one other thing I want to mention from this year, actually, and that is the return of Attack Pro Wrestling, and a company that I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, is very close to your heart, gave you some of your early breaks. You pretty much started wrestling for Attack Pro Wrestling within your first year, hand in hand with kind of cutting your teeth with Dragon Pro. And I'd say there's a picture of yourself, probably from 2018 at an Attack show. And I mentioned Attack being very close to your heart. It's one of the first indie promotions I'm thinking about 2014 that I went to as part of kind of the Brit Rest scene, Brit Rest explosion. But what does it mean to you to have Attack Pro Wrestling back, considering its history, considering its wild and crazy shows and stipulations, but all the wonderful stars that it gave an opportunity to, and all the wonderful memories, but for it to be back in 2023, what does that mean to you, Brendan?
Like it was the company. You know, I say with New Wave, like putting experience, get people against inexperienced people and bringing them up and stuff like that. My third ever match on Attack was against Eddie Dennis and Mike Bird in a triple threat match. You know what I mean? And that match is still one of my favorite matches. It brought me up to speed. And yeah, to be honest, early on, I probably wasn't ready for those opportunities, and that's what made me go back on the camps and kind of learn my craft before I went back to Attack. Because it was like about a 9-month swing before I went back to Attack. But I kind of needed those experiences against good people to sink or swim. I swam the first time, sank a second time, but then I came back around when I was ready, and then he gave me a chance again. And obviously, I had a standing row against Dunkzilla in Katay's Bingo Hall. I had a great match with Michael Oku in the Bingo Hall. I've had great matches against, it was me and Bo against Subculture. We've had great ones in London against 0121. We had an incredible match against 0121. Me and Dan did, So it's been the proving ground for me for a lot of times as a singles wrestler and as a tag wrestler. Like me and Nick Angelo were made at Attack. The second time we had a match at Attack, me and him had a banger there. It's just been a real breeding ground for real talent, and I feel like it's important. Attack's important for the British wrestling scene, really important, and I know progress is gonna be one thing, and same with Rev Pro. But I'm sorry, the talent that got produced in the UK during the boom years, we were from Attack, and Progress and Rev Pro jumped on them, which is great for them. But Attack was, I genuinely believe the British wrestling boom was because of Attack, and it's back now. So there's gonna be another boom, and there's gonna be a lot of promising talent come from those doors.
Yeah, I went to an Attack show in December, I think 2014. It was one of their mistletoe shows, and it was just, the card, if I were to read it out now, every single one of them has reached the heights of British wrestling, signed to WWE, and doing amazing things. So yeah, I think.
Quick question: do you remember the WWE Championship tournament, the first one?
Yes.
Do you remember who the last four finalists?
So obviously Pete Dunne, Tyler Bates. You might need to remind me on the other two.
Mark Andrews.
Yeah, and
but he was it Tucker, the other one? But anyway, my point being, 3 of the 4 finalists were Attack.
Yeah, 100%.
3 of the 4 were Attack, and the final was 2 Attack guys. That's my case in point.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And I remember seeing, I think it maybe a 15 or a 16-year-old Tyler Bate during that show in 2014. Absolutely crazy, and he looked, as good as he does now. But obviously, they got a couple of shows happening over WrestleMania weekend from the Prism nightclub, the 1st and the 2nd of April. Attack is back, and you can see by the posters there the fantastic talent they got lined up. But is that something that you may well be a part of, or would be tempted to be a part of if given the opportunity, Brendan?
I will be there.
Good. That's what we need to know. 2 nights, 2 days of entertainment from Attack Pro Wrestling. Now, a few of the questions that we got via Instagram before we went live, and let's bring them up on screen now. Let's start with the one in the top left. Is there a link between Wales rugby culture and its strong wrestling talent base? So you know more about Welsh culture and Welsh rugby culture, but is there a strong wrestling talent base, a link between the two?
No, I don't think it is. I think they're quite exclusive. They're quite separate because when I played rugby, I didn't think about wrestling, and when I wrestle, I don't think about rugby. But I still very much watch international games. No, I don't think there is. I think it's a nice question to ask, but they're very much two of their own things. They're both very difficult because I've done training quite extensively in both. But wrestling's my thing, and rugby is the world thing.
Fair enough. Do you still have an ambition to wrestle in Japan? If so, who would be your dream opponents? We spoke a little bit about bucket list opponents earlier, but we haven't mentioned Japan yet. And I think your style would complement the Japanese scene very well. Brendan, what would you say to that one?
Well, I wrestled Ben Narita in British J Cup in 2019, and that was a really good experience for me. I had to follow Pac and Amazing Red, which is never going to happen, but I remember that being a pretty interesting one. I'd love to wrestle Ven now because I think he's come on loads, and I'm a much better wrestler than I was then. But Tomohiro Ishii, I said earlier, I think me and him would have a really, really, really good hard-hitting style, and I'd love to have that match.
100%. Right, so let's have a look. If you could wrestle any active wrestler in the world right now, who would it be? You've probably already answered that, unless you've got a separate answer, but I think you've already answered that one. Why do you hate Plymouth so much? So is there some context there? Please explain.
I used to do Facebook live videos on my interests in Plymouth and stuff like that, because for some reason they just hated me. They booed me so much, and I just think just a bunch of idiots. they hate me so much, and it's hilarious. I think I used to give the crowd grief all the time in the queues now as well. So Plymouth.
Eddie Ryan, if you're watching, that's not the views and opinions of Wrestling with John. So Eddie Ryan, if you're watching,
no, Eddie, if you listen to this, I hate Plymouth. You suck. And I've never wrestled in Plymouth since. I'm so glad. It's a type of place you wipe your feet on the way out. It's the worst place. So, if you had to take a dump in anywhere in the UK, you take a dump in Plymouth, wouldn't you?
Oh dear, the views of Brendan White there, but
no, they are factual views. Factual.
There we go. But before we ask you for your socials, now I would usually bring up a slide with who my guests are going to be for the next month. Now, I haven't announced any guests for March up until now, so this is a bit of an exclusive. But I ran out of slides, so I'm just going to read it straight from my screen. And next Thursday, so a week from today, the 2nd of March, I've got the owner of No Mercy Wrestling, the bastard son, Bevan, will be coming on the Wrestling with Jonas podcast to talk about his wrestling career, to talk about No Mercy Wrestling. That's going to be Thursday the 2nd, live 8 p.m. So you're going to want to check that one out. Then the following Monday, I guess I'm absolutely thrilled to have on Monday the 6th. And he doesn't do many, if any, interviews, but James Mason will be coming onto the Wrestling with Jonas podcast. Good friends with James, and it'd be great to kind of get his insight and his experience. And like Doug Williams, he's one of them kind of original pros that's brought forward the traditional British style of wrestling into the more modern era. And then let's see, the following Tuesday the 14th, I've got a gentleman that we mentioned earlier on. I've got Shane Hooker coming onto the show, and I don't think he's done any interviews, so this will be a bit of an exclusive for Wrestling with Jonas, but only been on the scene a year or so. But what he's done, he
won't make it. We're going to beat Shane up on Saturday, so he's not going to make it. He'll be like,
we'll talk about it. It could be live from a hospital bed, you never know. But
yeah,
no, Shane.
Nice to meet you, Jonas. I'm in the party.
I tell you what, though, he's a hell of an athlete, a hell of a high flyer, and like I say, he's got a very, very bright future. That's Tuesday the 14th, anyway. And then the following Monday the 20th of March, I've got the Odyssey, the tag team known as the Odyssey. Adonis Payne and Artemis doing great things for UBW and various promotions around the UK. It's going to be great to chat to the Odyssey on Wrestling with Jonas podcast. And then to finish off the month of March, I've got CJ Rawlins coming on the show, and I've recently seen him perform for a couple of promotions around the UK, in particular Wrestle Carnival, where he won the Future X Cup, and he gets a chance to face Malak Darius for the championship at their next show in Nottingham in April. But CJ Rawlins is going to be a great interview. And don't forget that next Monday, in just a few days' time, I've got part 1 of my Legends Masterclass interview with Johnny Kidd coming out. Previous Legends Masterclass interviewees include Tony St. Clair, Marty Jones, Adrian Street, and Miss Linda, and
Quick
of course
question:
Johnny
Why
Could.
wasn't I on the why wasn't I on the Legends Masterclass?
Well, I was going to line you up for
Yeah.
maybe a few years down the line. Maybe a few years down
No,
the
no, no.
line.
Now I'm a legend now. Like, I should be on that.
Hey, listen,
Legend Masterclass with Brendan White. Please. Thank you.
I'll edit that in. We're live. We're live.
Oh yeah.
But say part 1 of my interview with Johnny Kidd drops on Monday. Part 2 will be dropping mid-March. But a great lineup there for the month of March. And Brendan, you're familiar with a few of those, including Shane, who will be doing the interview live from a hospital bed.
I've wrestled James. I've wrestled Shane. I've done a seminar with Johnny Kidd. I should be in this Legends Masterclass competition, and I want to promote your shows, but they're not as good as this one. So watch them if you want, but they ain't gonna get as good as this. So you just anything.
Absolutely. And as we kind of wrap up this episode, this Legends episode of Wrestling with Johners with Bronco Brendan White, got it right there. If any of my viewers, listeners, friends want to get in touch with yourself, reach out, say hi, see more of your stuff, or just kind of follow you on social media, where can they do so? And if it helps, it is running along the bottom of the screen as we speak. Go ahead, Brendan.
It's Bronco PW on all my socials. So Facebook, it's Bronco Brendan White on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Don't try and add me on my personal Facebook because I won't accept you if I don't know you and I hate you. I also, if you want to be a professional wrestler on a serious note, www.newwavewrestlingacademy.com. If you want to follow us on there, it's New Wave Academy on Instagram, New Wave Wrestling 1 on Twitter. Please, if you have any kind of questions or anything like that, we'll be more than happy to guide you through your professional wrestling journey. But like I said, we're a one-stop shop professional wrestling, the best school in Wales, one of the best in Europe. Please, if you want to take your wrestling journey seriously, come and join us and we will help you along the way.
100%. And we make sure that the link to the website is in the description to this for sure. And do you have any merch? I've actually got some pictures of some t-shirts. I hope that these, there we go. Let's have a look. So we've obviously got
look at them.
Souls t-shirt
Oh
there.
my God, look at them t-shirts, yeah.
By the brilliant designed by Alec Hugill. And of course, I don't know whether there's any of these still available, but we've got
I sold out of them, but if people are interested in them, drop me a message and I'll get some more made. But I did actually sell out of those ones. I'm really proud of that one. But these are the new ones, the Last of Us ones. Look at that. Oosh. If you see in the background is the clicker on one of the pictures. If you zoom in, there you see the clicker. See, I've really thought about this. I really thought about it. I like to do topical tees at the moment, and me and Dan on a roll. So I'm wearing one right now. Look how cool it is. And buy one at shows on tomorrow at Rev Pro. Buy one at Outcast on Saturday, and then Sunday at Rev Pro as well. As we smash the Italian boys up, and you just buy a t-shirt afterwards.
There we go. Well, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow at the Tram Shed. If I get a chance to see you, I'll come and say hi. But looking forward to seeing that match. But Brendan White, you've been an awesome guest for the last hour and a half or so on episode 287 of Wrestling with Johners. If you've got any parting messages, any final messages for your friends, followers, fans out there that might be watching this, what would your parting message from Brendan White be?
Sleep, drink water, and if you love something, go for it and pursue it. Don't doubt yourself. Just go for it and do it.
100%. Brendan White, thank you so much, and we'll see you at the shows, my friend.
You will. I'll say goodbye to you tomorrow.
See you later.